All right, and hello, greetings, and welcome, my friend, to the next episode here of the Red Delta Project podcast, live feed Q&A here on the RDP YouTube channel, with another episode to help you be fit and live free. I'm Matt Schifferle, your humble host, as always. In today's episode, we're continuing along with our series on how to make fitness easier, because the easier you make it to adhere to your diet habits, your exercise habits, and to apply the work that you need to do in order to achieve and maintain your goals, the better you will achieve and maintain those goals. But every friction, every ounce of friction, and every little stone in your way that's making it harder for you to do the habits that you need in order to maintain and achieve your results is just simply slowing you down. And what we're going to discuss today are 9 things that are going to make it a heck of a lot easier to eat much healthier and more effectively, whether you want to be healthier or manage body fat, which is 2 very different topics, but they are related. And of course, having effective exercise for the sake of performance, aesthetics, like strength and muscle, and for your general health and well-being. But before we do that, we, of course, have to pay the bills. Just a gentle reminder, again, that I have 2 new books out these days. I've got my Beautiful Strength up there on the bookshelf there, the calisthenics approach for building a body that looks and feels more attractive, bringing out your most attractive self. Iron Core Calisthenics, which is my definitive guide on calisthenics training for core work. All of that is in PDF form or Amazon on paperback and Kindle. Link is down below. It'll take you to rdp.com where you can access all that. And our new clothing sponsor this week, Anthem Athletics, which if you use the discount code down below in the description will get you 20% off. I've just started wearing this stuff and it is fantastic. I've been really excited, especially with the shorts that they have sent me, because I don't know about you, but I've always had a heck of a time getting any sort of pants or shorts that feel comfortable, look good, and can actually perform when I'm in the gym. It's either something that looks like, you cut off sweatpants that you're using, which are comfortable and they perform well, but they don't look good, or something that looks good, but it just doesn't allow you to get into like a nice deep pistol squat or deep lunges without needing to readjust yourself after every single set. Anthem Athletics hits that sweet spot of aesthetics and performance all in one. And again, I've got the discount code down below, RDB20, for 20% off any of the things that you purchase. So on to today's topic. These are, again, 9 things. Lots of times you'll hear experts discourage these very things that are going to make it a lot easier for you to be successful in health and fitness. Starting off with point number 1, which is live within your means. I've addressed this in Beautiful Strength as well as several of my other books, and why it's so incredibly important for you to get much better results. But I know this is not usually the take that people have when I tell people live within their means. Usually you hear that in financial advice, like don't spend every penny you make as soon as it hits your bank account if you can help it. Save a little bit in order to have some for a rainy day, or invest it and use it later on. And the exact same thing happens when it comes to health and fitness, whether it's financial resources, energy resources of mind, body, or even emotional resources. If you're using a workout program during your lunch break, for example, and you get an hour for lunch from the company that you work at, you don't have to spend the entire hour doing it. You can do like 45 minutes or so forth. But this is an idea that a lot of people don't feel comfortable with because it feels like they're holding themselves back. Like, oh, if I don't put every single thing I've got in the gym into my workouts, if I don't put every ounce of effort I can into my dietary habits, then doesn't that mean that I'm holding myself back? And in the short term, it kind of does. But you're looking at very short-term limitation that's going to lead to much bigger success. And in all honesty, it's not really going to limit you very much anyway. And that's because your ability to get and achieve any sort of real monumental results depends on long-term consistency. If I wanted to, for example, run across my beautiful state here of Colorado, and I got on one end of the state, like on the western border, and I'm going to go across the state of Colorado, and I just beat into a dead sprint right from the get-go, well, I'm just going to burn myself out before I even get even close to 100th of the way across the state. And it's the exact same thing here when it comes to fitness in the long game, is that when you are always going at your absolute max and putting everything you've got all the time, you're essentially putting yourself right up to the edge of potential burnout all the time. Burnout mentally, emotionally, physically. You have a much greater chance of injury in that regard. And even though you're like, well, I only went like 75% or so, you're not really holding yourself back that much, because remember that the more work you do, you have an exponential increase in cost with a diminishing rate of return. So if you went into your hour-long workout, for example, and you only used 40 minutes of it, what you're going to get out of that extra 20 minutes, if you really like put yourself to the grind for the entire hour, is going to be negligible progress anyway. But you're going to save so much more effort and work that it's going to make recovery faster. It's going to improve motivation. It's going to improve your focus. So it's like, well, if I've only got 40 minutes, then I got to make sure that I'm on point with my workouts and getting the exercises in that I need to do. You're not just going to pad it out with fluff exercises. It's got a huge domino effect of things going for it. Now, it doesn't mean don't push yourself to the limit from time to time, especially in a competitive arena. That's a very good thing. If I'm out on a bike race, when I used to race out at Catamount, you better believe I'm going to put every ounce of effort I've got into that cross-country race. I'm sparing no expense. But I'm sure as heck not going to do that for every single race, because I just can't maintain that sort of thing. So putting a little bit in the tank, saving a little bit. The biggest thing is don't feel like you have to push to spend everything you've got. It's the same thing with finance. Like as soon as $20 hits your account, you're like, what can I spend $20 on? What can I spend $20 on? I got to spend $20. How do I spend $20? That same mentality is just going to drain you faster, and you're not going to be able to save anything. It's going to make it a heck of a lot harder to achieve and maintain whatever results you're trying to achieve. So live well within your means. If you have an hour, get your workout done in half an hour or 40 minutes. If you have the energy for 100 reps, stop at 80. If you have the ability to say, okay, I can completely eliminate all sugar and carbs from my diet, okay, fine, but there's no need to. So, go ahead and still have some white rice and treat yourself to an occasional ice cream cone. When you go after your absolute limits of effort, you're basically just saying, I'm going to spend a heck of a lot more for the meager results that I'm going to get, and they're going to be harder to maintain. Now, I know a lot of experts will say, you got to leave it all in the gym and stuff, and it's simply just not true, especially if you are just starting out, or if you're going through any sort of difficulties in your life, like, oh man, things are really stressful. I'm really not feeling my best. I'm not at my best mentally or emotionally. Yeah, don't blow the small amount of energy that you've got only on your workout. Save plenty in the tank. The only thing that matters for progress is actual progress. When you put everything you've got into your workouts, but there's no progression in the workouts, you're still not going to make any progress. You're not maximizing or optimizing anything. You're just staying stuck in the mud, spinning your wheels. So the more you can kind of hold back a little bit, the more you give yourself the opportunity, bang, to jut forward, especially when life starts giving you a little bit more time and energy and motivation, which leads me to point number 2, which gets you over this idea of, well, live within your means. Oh, gee, that's pretty limited. I don't want to limit myself. Yeah, but you have point number 2, which is increase your means. Increase your means. It's a heck of a lot easier to have a really effective workout when you just have more energy and more motivation and more, well, money. Like if you're building a gym or something, any aspect of fitness that is financially costing you something, more time. If you have more means, it's a lot easier to live within your means, and it's also a lot easier to be extremely productive within the means. Again, in the financial world, people are like, live within your means. Yeah, it's a lot easier to do that when you make 6 figures a year. I've done it before. Trust me, it's a lot easier to live within your means and still be living high when you make more money. And so usually when people hear live within your means, that means limit yourself, limit yourself, limit yourself, limit yourself. No, that's not what it means. It means don't overexert yourself, but at the same time, seek ways to increase your means. Now, that may seem obvious in the financial world where it's like, well, yeah, that means make more money, right? But when it comes to fitness, that means what can you do to increase your energy level? That means have a very satisfying, healthy diet that's satisfying your appetites. Make sure you're getting plenty of good, restful sleep, taking naps, avoiding excessive stress, and yeah, sometimes that means not putting it all in the gym and having more energy after your workouts, requiring less recovery from your training. I've talked about that ad nauseum about how it's not recovery when you get results, it's adaptation. And recovery, in many respects, is actually a liability to the very results you want. Because if you go into a gym or you go through your workout and you just bash, thrash, smash, and trash the hell out of your body, you need a lot of recovery from that. But that means all those resources that you're using for recovery can't really be used for the actual adaptations you want. You're not going to get bigger. You're not going to get stronger. You're not going to get faster because you got to fix yourself first. You're like a beat up race car where all of the team racing budget has to go into fixing the car before the next race. They can't actually make it go any faster because you have to blow everything on repairing tires and fenders and shock absorbers. So when you have more means, you're like, I've got more energy, I have more time, I have more energy and motivation. Well, now that makes it a lot easier to stay within your means. It makes it a lot easier to have consistent, effective workouts. It's a lot easier to manage your diet when you have more of the resources you need in order to stay in shape. So live within your means, but also increase your means as well. Yeah, Nilsson coming in saying, hello from Rio de Janeiro. Should I not work out until failure? I always tell people, just go. This is a good thing here because as I address on the latest edition of the Delta Digest, my weekly newsletter, you sign up at reddeltaproject.com, I talk about when it comes to stimulating hypertrophy, I always tell people, challenge your muscular work capacity, getting to the point where you're getting a grind rep or two. And then it's like, well, doesn't that mean just lift till failure? And the answer is absolutely not, because failure is a very subjective term in many regards. We want to lift towards the limits of our contractile ability of the muscle, but failure could be anything. You get into Reddit forums on lifting to failure, and you'll hear lots of people use different descriptions of what that actually means. Technical failure, cardio failure, mental failure, the failure to maintain a certain speed. Sometimes coaches will have those speed readouts for how fast you can lift a barbell and stuff for athletics. So they'll say, yeah, just lift, give me reps until you drop below this speed. So the question is always, failure of what are you going to? And that's why it's more subjective than we are. And last but not least to that is, to a large degree, in my experience, I've been coaching folks for nearly 25 years. People are really, really bad at knowing how much their limit actually is. I mean, really bad when I'm like, okay, save a rep in the tank, and they give me 10 pull-ups. And then like next week, I'll say, okay, give me as many as I get. And they get like 17 pull-ups. I'm like, I said save 1 rep in the tank, not 6 or 7. Like, what the heck was that kind of thing? So that's why I tell people, just go. Just go. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Chances are you're never actually going to be able to push yourself to failure on your own anyway. I certainly know myself in my own experience that I just cannot push myself that hard on my own most of the time. It's just too hard to do. I need someone coaching me. I need someone to get me going. Again, back to the bike racing days. Before we would start the season, sometimes we would say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to ride this course at race pace. And we just couldn't do it because we're trying to force ourselves to do it. And it's just too darn hard. I needed someone literally on my back saying, I'm going to pass you. I'm going to pass you. You don't want me to pass you, in order to push to that level. So bottom line there, Nilsson, just go. Just go to the absolute max limit that you possibly can. But remember, if you're trying to stimulate muscle growth, then go with the actual failure or the contractile ability to produce tension in the muscle, not technical failure, not the failure of the range of motion, all these other sorts of things, which are related but not quite the same thing. And furthermore, when it comes down to pushing yourself to that high level, you want to make sure that you're always staying safe. Of course, some exercises are just better suited for pushing that hard. That's why I built more muscle with calisthenics than under a barbell, because I had a harder time pushing myself hard because there was, consequences to having a bar on your back or being under a bar on a bench press without a spotter. So mentally, I'd sometimes kind of quote chicken out. That was mental failure on the lift. But when I was doing heavy weighted dips or something, I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. I could just go and go and go until my muscles are screaming bloody murder because I just put my feet down at the end of the dip set. I don't need a spotter. So see what is easier for you to push to a high level. Oh, and one more thing is also know what goals are more helped with pushing towards failure versus ones that are hindered. If you came to me and you're like, I want to do 1,000 push-ups, I'm like, stay well away from failure because it's just going to drain you so super fast. Stay with plenty of juice in the tank. Basically, pace yourself. When you're trying to stimulate hypertrophy, don't pace yourself. That's what you want to do. Just blast the hell out of the muscle and get it to that state of not so much exhaustion, but you're challenging its capacity as quickly as you possibly can. There's no need to just go set after set after set after set after set, because now you're pacing yourself, and that's just going to hold you back. All right, next strategy for making things a lot easier that oftentimes is discouraged by the experts, which is go directly after the goal that you want. Don't assume correlation. And I know this one might seem like a, well, duh kind of idea, but you'd be amazed at how much people actually don't do this or even avoid it. And what they mean by this is they're assuming that, well, if I can bench press 315, my chest will be huge. If I can do hill sprints like crazy, I'm going to have amazing cardio. If I do this ab routine, then I'm going to have six-pack abs. And yeah, there may be very much a correlation between these sorts of things, but you have to make sure that you're going directly after the thing you're after. I don't know how many times people get into powerlifting and they get really strong in the key lifts, and then they're like, but my chest is not really as developed as I thought it would be. It's like, yeah, because you're concerned with how much weight you can lift, not actually building your chest. Or they're doing hill sprints and they're like, I'm getting really good at hill sprints, but and now I get on the basketball court and I'm still sucking wind. It's like, yeah, you're not concerned with endurance. You're concerned with doing hill sprints. So you want to make sure that what you're doing is directly after what you want. If you want abs, know what it takes to get abs specifically and do exactly that. Don't just assume that holding a plank for 5 minutes will get you abs, because it very often won't. It's like, yeah, but now you're stronger to do a plank for 5 minutes, but you still have the body fat there. Like, yeah, in order to build abdominal definition is like building definition in the rest of the body. You need to build the muscle, you need to shrink the fat, or focus on which one is the determining influence or the combination of the two. That's what you need to do for abs. And if you're just assuming it's going to happen from cutting back sugar or something, then you're assuming correlation. And again, this is where people will spend 10 times as much work for a fraction of the result, because they're not actually doing most of the stuff necessary to actually get the result that they want. Don't assume a strong core means six-pack abs. Don't assume that cutting back on sugar will make your diet magically healthier. You want the actual thing, know what that thing entails, and go directly after that. Next tip here on making things a lot easier and a lot more effective that the experts actually kind of discourage is curate your environment, food, equipment, people, and social media. The fact of the matter is that to a large degree, we humans are the products of our environment. We like to feel like we're in control. Like, I am a master of my own fate. No, you're not. You are a product of your environment. If I put you in Southern Florida, In 5 years, you're going to be a different person, heavily influenced by the fact that you're in Southern Florida. If you lived up in Alaska, you would be a very different person living up there because you're in Alaska. We are products of our environment. And a lot of times the experts will say, doesn't matter. Ignore your environment, ignore the people around you, ignore, the social media content that you're consuming and all these sorts of things. But the fact is, you're just fighting upstream at that point. Now, of course, some things in your environment are going to be easier to control than others. Like I live in Colorado. If I'm like, I want to become a cross-country skier, it's going to be really hard for me to move to Finland or something. But other things are a lot easier. Like I can stock better food in my fridge. If you're looking to eat healthier and you've got nothing but processed junk food in your environment, guess what you're going to eat? I was at Costco this past week doing a little shopping, and I said, going to Costco or going to some of these warehouse clubs, it's the same thing as using credit cards. A place like this can be absolutely disastrous for your diet, or it can be really advantageous if you know how to use it properly. But if you don't, then it can be really bad. Like I would never go to a Costco and buy a huge big tub of cookies or cakes or crackers or any sort of snacky food. That doesn't mean I don't have it. I certainly have snacky foods here, but I get it at the grocery store in much smaller quantities and I buy it sporadically here and there. But if I have an entire 2-pound bag of some sort of candy or something, I'm going to eat 2-pound bag of candy. I don't want that. So it's very much about curating your environment for the success that you want. And admittedly, you may have limits there. You may be someone who's living at home and someone else does all the grocery shopping and meal prep. Sorry, your meal prep, your diet is largely in their hands. But if you have a little bit more control, as you could say, hey, Ma, I want to make dinner a couple nights a week. Okay, there. Now you're curating your environment a little bit more. It's all about making the changes that are relatively easy as quickly as you can. And some things you're just not going to have the best environment for. So, okay, make do with what you got. But if you're like looking to work out on the regular, don't put your treadmill and the dumbbells in a dark, damp basement with poor air circulation. You don't like to go down there and everything. Try and put it into a better part of the home or make it a little bit more friendly. I once moved into a place that had a garage that was perfect for a gym, but the floor was incredibly dirty. And I was like, I'm not working out here. As a calisthenics guy, I spend half the time on the floor. I'm not working out here. So I made sure to make a section of that garage with some nice flooring. I kept it clean and everything. So that way I had the opportunity to get the workout in. But if your environment is not set up for your success, don't expect those habits to follow suit. We are a product of our environment to a very large degree, and trying to just willpower your way through it is, you can make it happen, but you're just fighting upstream, which is, again, much more work for much worse results. It's just not a winning formula. Ralph. It's good to see you, my friend. Same. Hey, Matt, when doing a 3-minute, as many reps as possible, micro workout, is it best to go all out failure on the initial set and then recover, or would it be wiser to save energy and then go all out before the timer ends? Very good. Yeah, this is a strategy for my micro workouts approach where you just take an exercise, set a timer for 3 minutes, get as many repetitions as you can, you're done. And you do that for a few exercises, boom, say push, pull, squat. Your whole workout is done in less than like 15 minutes with rest periods and stuff. So you can do it either way, Ralph. Again, it always depends, though, on what your objective is. But I'm assuming this is kind of more of a hypertrophy muscle endurance kind of goal. So if, to a large degree, it probably doesn't matter either way, because you're reaching that point of muscular endurance burnout just sooner rather than later at the end of it. If you go through the whole 3 minutes and you're like, oh, I could have gotten more reps, I was still fairly fresh. Okay, then you should have put more into it. But usually I just tell people, just go for it and then just get whatever reps you can for the rest of the 3 minutes. If you're trying to do something like hit a PR, like, oh, I want to hit 30 pull-ups or something in that time, then it might behoove you to pace yourself a little bit more and not go quite all out. But you're going to get to that point of muscular burnout one way or another. So at the end, it's roughly the same kind of idea. Usually this is the sort of thing I would encourage folks, just do both and just do whatever you like. You might just feel better one way or the other, or have a preference. And if that's the case, just go with your preference. All right, next tip that I highly recommend, and this one is kind of a little different, but a lot of people, it's amazing how much a difference this can make, but it really is not something that's practiced. Usually in our fitness culture, we're kind of told to just keep your head down, stay on the straight and narrow, just keep showing up, putting in the time, and just assume it'll all work out in the end. But instead, I highly encourage you to do a motivation assessment on the methods that you're using and the goals that you're actually after. We need motivation for two things. What are you doing and what are you after? Because your success depends very much on your motivation. No motivation, you're dead in the water, or at least you will be. It's just going to take you longer to get there. So a motivation assessment is essentially where you just kind of step back for a moment. It helps to write things down on paper, and you take a look at particularly like what your methods are. Like, do you really enjoy or feel you're getting value out of what your habits are? Let me give you a story. Like years ago when I got out of college, again, biker, I had an exercise bike in the basement. And this is before Peloton. This is before tablets and smartphones. This is literally me in the dark, trying to balance this Discman on the handlebars, just riding for an hour in the dark, looking at the wall and just listening to whatever CD was in the CD player. And man, that was a grind to get through. And a short time after that, I got into backcountry skiing. And when I started to understand the fundamental nature of fitness and how it actually works and how it's not so much about what you do, but rather the objectives that you're achieving, I started to realize, like, I don't really need to do any particular kind of exercise in order to stay in shape. I don't need to go to Taekwondo. I don't need to do the exercise bike in the winter. I don't need to go to the gym and lift weights if I don't want to. Like, I don't need to do any of that stuff. I just got to challenge my muscular work capacity to build muscle and strength. I just got to burn some sort of calories any way I like in order to kind of proactively burn calories. And I just have to recreate in any way I like. So I was looking at everything I was doing and I was like, do I still just want to do it for its own sake? Taekwondo? Yeah, actually I do. Okay, then I kept doing it. But I realized, like, yeah, I don't like riding this bike in the basement. Well, why are you doing it? Well, I got to do it for endurance and cardio and burning calories. And I thought I had to do a lot of cardio to stay lean at the time and stuff. And so I need to do that. But I was like, it doesn't matter what I do. A calorie burned is a calorie burned. I don't need to do it that way. It's like, well, then why the hell are you doing it? You're like, good question. No, I sold the bike. I got rid of it and I bought some backcountry skis because that's what I really did want to do instead. So do an assessment of everything you're doing, like once a year or so. Like, are you really getting what you want out of that thing? And if you're thinking, well, no, I don't, I'd rather not be doing this thing if I don't have to. Well, chances are you don't have to do the thing. Get rid of it. Use something else that's more in alignment for you. Same with your goals too. It's very natural for your goals to ebb and flow throughout your fitness career. You could have started off saying, I want to get big and massive and jacked, and I want to have, Hulk level musculature like a bodybuilder. And then after 5 years, you're like, you know what? I just want to look and feel good. And it's like all this really heavy, long, high volume stuff is just beating the hell out of my body. I would love to just wake up one morning without back pain. It's like, okay, your goal is now different. And this is very important. Because it's easy to just get on that zombie mode where you just keep going after something and not really step back and be like, wait a minute, is this really what I want? Do I really want this thing? Or do I just want to be attractive? Do I just want to look and feel good? And that's what I wrote Beautiful Strength about. It's like, I just want to look and feel good. I don't care if I can do calisthenics skills. Why in the world am I struggling and busting my joints apart trying one lackadaisical muscle up after another? I don't care about, I just want to look and feel good. Like, oh, okay, well, I got much easier ways to do that than with endless muscle ups and trying to struggle my way through a front lever of half-hearted knee tuck planche. Well, then, yeah, I'm just going to do that, because when you really get more honest about what you actually want, then you can, again, go more directly after it, and you can cut the fluff. You can cut the fat that's holding you back. Motivation assessments, very, very important to do. Next tip here, next strategy is employ adaptability. This one is usually discouraged in our fitness culture, but I've been using it for many years now for myself and my clients, and it has been a heck of a lot easier to get much better results with much less stress on body, mind, and lifestyle. And adaptability just basically means change things in your diet and your workout programs as you see fit in order to still achieve your objectives, but with whatever resources you have. So I tell clients this all the time. Is sometimes they're running late and they show up 10 minutes late or something. They're like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I promise it'll never happen again. I'm like, dude, I don't care. I literally just don't care if you're late. Let me know, text me and let me know that you're running late, so that way I don't assume you're not coming. But I really just don't care if you're late. And I tell them for several reasons. One, I get paid the same either way, so it doesn't affect my pocketbook. Two is I don't want you rushing here and getting a speeding ticket or risk an accident or anything like that. And three, my methods are adaptable. You walk through that door with 45 minutes to go in your workout, I can give you a great workout in 45 minutes. You walk in that door with half an hour to go, I can give you a great workout in half an hour. Give me whatever you got. If you come in and you're tired and you're exhausted and you're hungover, I can still give you a great workout with that. We'll talk about, because again, that's a very low means thing. Like, let's talk about increasing your means with that, but I can still make it work for you. Don't feel like it's got to be this optimized thing. And a lot of times in our fitness culture, we're encouraged to be dogmatic because it's supposedly a sign of discipline, which it's not. It's obedience. I've got to do 1,000 push-ups every single day. Doesn't matter if I'm sick, doesn't matter if I'm injured, doesn't matter if I'm busy, doesn't matter if I'm exhausted, doesn't matter if it's the last thing I want to do. I've got to do 1,000 push-ups. No, that's not discipline. That's just being obedient to the rule. And there's a time and a place for that sort of thing. But for most of the people, most of the time, that's not a smart way to go about it. That's just working twice as hard for half the results. And you're going to burn yourself out a heck of a lot more. So use adaptability. In the shortest term, as my grandfather always said, play the cards that life deals you. Use what you've got. If you have more time and energy, then do more. If you have less time and energy, do less. Excuse me, fighting off a cold here. So use whatever you got. If you go to a hotel gym and they've only got dumbbells that go up to like 25 pounds, use those and get a little creative in what you can do. If you are in a workout scenario and your favorite weight machine is broken, well, find another way to work your triceps. We don't want to be dogmatic about things. Dogmatic approaches in anything in life, but especially fitness, we adopt these dogmatic approaches because we feel like they give us more control. Here's the rules, stick to the rules no matter what. But the ironic thing is it actually takes away control from you because you're no longer making the call, you're not making the choices, the rule is in charge. The rule, whether you established it yourself or some expert or it just sounded like a good idea you saw on the internet one day, telling you to do 1,000 push-ups a day, that's the thing in charge. You're not independent. You're compromising your own personal freedom. You're also compromising your own personal discipline because discipline is all about making choices and making assessments about what's actually best for you in given circumstances. And if you force yourself to always follow the rules no matter what, you're not disciplined, you're obedient, you're not in control, the rule is, and you're also compromising your results because sometimes you may be better off doing more, sometimes you're doing less, sometimes you may be better off doing something different, but you're never going to do that because you're obedient to the dogmatic rule that's in charge of your workout or your diet or in some cases, that part of your life. And again, it's not always bad. I see a red light, I stop. I'm obedient to that rule. But when it comes to living your best life, being fit, living free, having much less work with much better results, you need to have adaptability in order to do that. So that way you can make changes as they see fit. I get that question a lot sometimes from people. When should I change my workout routine? When should I change my diet? When should I swap out exercises? And I always give the same answer. Change it whenever the heck you want, but do it when there's a good reason for the change. Don't just change for novelty's sake. And there's plenty of examples where people make fantastic progress and they're like, I have done the same routine for 30 years. Like, yeah, there's no good reason to change it. If there's no good reason to change it, don't change it. But the second you're like, you know what? I just feel like I work my legs better with lunges instead of goblet squats, let's say. It's like, well, good. Why wait? Change the lunges then, right now. Don't make any sort of plan, or it doesn't need to be on a periodization scheme or anything like that. Just change. As soon as you have a better way to do something, just do it. And don't look back. You know, in the second you think I've got a better way to achieve my objective, challenging your muscular work capacity, satisfying your fundamental appetites, you know, whatever your objectives are that are in charge of your results, then just make the change. And you may make that change on a day-to-day basis. If circumstances are changing, again, we're products of our environment. So if your environment changes, then change. And don't stress out about it. If you walk in and your favorite weight machine is broken, don't worry about it. It's amazing how many times I've been in gyms and you get the biggest, strongest alpha warrior, badass, you know, kind of guys, and they've come in and they see their favorite weight machine is broken or under repair, and man, they're just like kids throwing a temper tantrum in the cereal aisle at the grocery store all over again. It's like, dude, relax. There's plenty of ways to work your triceps. No way, man. I got to do it exactly this way. It's like, oh, man. It's very hard and stressful on body, mind, and lifestyle to live in a dogmatic fashion, which is why I encourage you not to do it. Next tip here, and this is something I'm going to be addressing in my next video series coming up to a degree, is get a coach or social support. There's this really weird dichotomy in fitness. On one hand, when it comes to getting the results that you want, your real good potential, know that you can't do it alone. You just can't. You don't have the knowledge. You don't have the motivation. You don't have the ability to observe yourself. You don't have the ways to or experience to make assessments and changes. You just can't do it yourself. You have to have someone helping you. And that's why having a coach or even just a good gym buddy can really help you. I've worked out with people in the past, and it's like, hey, watch me do this thing a little bit. And I was like, what'd you think? And they're like, yeah, your left elbow's sticking out still. I'm like, still? Oh man, I thought I kept that. All right, fine, I'll work on that kind of thing. Because you need external eyes on you, on what's going on. You need external experience. You just cannot do it on your own. However, there is also the very fact that you are on your own when it comes to fitness. Hey, you can't have a coach with you 24/7. You can't have a gym buddy or some sort of external social support all the time. When I coach clients over at Capra, I can give them a great workout and keep them on track and everything, but I am absolutely powerless to prevent them from going home and just eating nothing but junk food and sitting on the couch for the rest of the week if I see them once a week. I have no power whatsoever over anything they do in their life and their diet and exercise habits outside of that workout. 100% powerless. So the only way they can make things happen is if they can rely on themselves and do things on their own. And that's what a good coach is actually going to do, is help you with what you do on your own as well. But you have to become self-reliant to a large degree. So that's the weird thing about fitness. You have to have someone help you, at least to some degree. But you also have to be very self-reliant in order to do this. And so having good coaches and social support will make both of those things happen. And don't be afraid to ask questions too. When I coach folks, I'm like, ask me anything that you want. Text me at any time. As your coach, I am on call. I may not get to you right away, but if you're traveling to Europe and you're in a weird gym and you send me a video real quick going, here's the gym equipment I have. What do I do with this? I'll send you back, or even do a little video call if you like, and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. But you are much better off with improving self-reliance, so you're not entirely dependent on a coach or anything, but at the same time, you do need external support to some degree. You do need that sooner or later, because if you're only trusting yourself and doing things on your own, you're going to run into your own personal limitations, and they're going to really hold you back. I don't care how much you learn, and I don't care how much work and effort you put into it. Someone with some external experience will help you immensely much faster. I tell clients, it's like, my job is to give you better advice in 5 minutes than you would learn on your own in 5 months, because I've got 25 years of experience with this sort of thing. I can tell you exactly what you need to know about doing better push-ups in 5 minutes, so you do better push-ups for the entire rest of your life than you would learn on your own. That's my job as your coach. And so getting a coach and some social support is very handy for that. Just remember that you do also need that self-reliance. My man Sinitar is saying, my goal is to make it to 70 without having to use a walker. That's a good goal. Yeah, I'm very close. I use overcoming isometrics for strength and strength endurance. Good call. It's working very well. Am I missing out not using dynamic exercises? Short answer, yes. You want some dynamic application of the strength that you're developing to some degree there, Sinitar. So when people are very heavy on the isometric bandwagon, I still always encourage do something with a good range of motion. And it can be just the smallest of things too. Just get some simple body weight squats, do some push-ups on a kitchen counter, do some banded rows or lat pull downs on a machine. Doesn't need to be a lot. You don't need a whole other workout or anything. You can even do it as just a little finisher after your isometric workout, a single set of dynamic exercises, just to make sure that your muscles still understand how to produce force under elongation on the eccentric phase, and then when they're shortening up during the concentric phase. So there's still value to it, and you don't need a whole lot in order to get that value, but you do want some degree of dynamic. A good way also to overcome that is just have a dynamic warm-up too. The original Isomax from Dragon Door, and actually the ISO chain and the Isomax, gosh, now I'm really kind of confusing myself. The Isomax came with a resistance band to warm up with. So you would do like banded deadlifts, banded overhead presses and stuff like that to warm up the muscles for your isometrics to come. Very helpful. So I recommend getting at least a little bit of dynamics in there. You'll be better off for it. All right, next tips here. We got 2 more to go. This one I kind of covered already, but let's talk about it just a bit more, which is focus on your locus of control. And this one's really important because at the end of the day, a lot of the reason why we're in fitness is because we're here for control. We can say, I want to be healthier. I want to be able to, my man Sinitar saying, I want to be able to walk without a walker at 70. We all have our fitness goals, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to, I want control of this. I want control of my body, how it looks, how it feels, and how it performs. I want more control. And the way that we do that is focusing on what can you control? Because the thing that you need to realize is that nobody ever has full control over their body. How you look, feel, and perform is always going to be influenced by a lot of factors that you have no control over whatsoever, that are completely outside of your reach. And a lot of times people will take that as a defeatist attitude and be like, oh, so there's nothing I can do, huh? I might as well just give up. But at the same time, you got the other end of the spectrum where people will be like, I am 100% in control of my body fat level as long as I just don't eat sugar. No, that's just as much of a delusion. You're not in control. You just can influence your calorie balance, therefore have influence over your body fat levels. You can't outright control it with diet alone or any particular aspect of diet, like not eating sugar. That is an illusion. But that's the weird thing about us humans. We actually don't want control. to be happy. We just need the illusion of control. We got football season coming on in here. Preseason just started this weekend in my football friends and stuff. We're all gearing up and stuff. Every football season never fails. We all give in to superstition. It's like, oh, I've got shirts in my wardrobe that I wore once, to one game, and they lost that game. I'm like, well, I'm not wearing this shirt again. Nope. If I wear this shirt, they're going to lose again. Of course, that's bunk. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. Oh, sure. Yeah. There's this multi-billion-dollar sports team out there, and the entire fate of their success depends on me wearing a shirt. No, of course not. But why do we do it? Because it gives us the feeling of control. And that's all we really want. But we have to make sure we're also just realistic on the fact that that feeling, that is an illusion. And the way we break out of the illusion is actually focusing on what do you actually have control over? Like I was saying earlier about your environment. Can you have more control over the food in your environment? Can you have more control over the fact that you have equipment that you can use at home? Do you have more control over your schedule? It's like, I never have time to exercise. Like, well, are you telling your coworkers that, no, I can't put a meeting at 12 o'clock during lunch break because that's when I go work out? Or are you just letting it happen? Because the fact is that, yes, you don't have absolute 100% control, but when you focus on your locus of control and taking stock of your environment, your resources, and saying, what can I get a little more control over? You'd be amazed at how much control you can and do have over your abilities to make things happen. Because a lot of us are really living below our potential because we're largely just letting things go to the winds of chance. Like, yeah, my schedule will just be whatever, and my environment will be whatever, and the food in my fridge will be whatever and stuff. And so you're literally just saying, I really want to make sure I get to the destination safely and efficiently, but I'm going to take my hands off the wheel and just let the guardrail control where the car goes. Like, no, that's not smart. So focus on what you can control. It doesn't need to be OCD about things. Just pick one or two things. Pick a couple of things that you want to have a little bit more of a grasp on. Food in the fridge, your schedule, and making time to make sure you get your workouts in, making sure that your workout environment is clean. What are the things that you do have some control over? Because when you get a little bit more proactive over the things you can control, it gives you much more real control. And that's much more satisfying than the illusion of control. All right, last little tip here before we head on out, saying, and this is one that the experts often don't encourage, which is respect your experience, especially yourself when it comes to these things. As Bruce Lee once said, we have more faith in what we imitate than what we originate. So this is very much true because we're often taught to fight ourselves in our fitness culture, to fight our experience, where someone's like, oh, I did this thing and it doesn't really seem to be jiving with me very much. I don't feel very good when I do that. And they're like, shut up, do as you're told. This is the best way to go about doing whatever you're trying to achieve. So force yourself to do it. Yeah, but I'm really not feeling, it doesn't matter what you think. Just force yourself to follow the dogmatic formula kind of thing. This was my case with particularly like intermittent fasting back in the day. Even before it was called intermittent fasting, it was it went by a number of other terms like Brad Pilon and stuff. They had their eat, stop, eat methods and stuff like that. And shortly before that, when I was in high school, several years before, I learned just from my own experience that I'm much better off grazing throughout the day. I'm much better just grazing and eating throughout the day, just not huge big meals, but just sandwich here and granola bar there, a piece of fruit and yogurt there, kind of thing, just grazing throughout the day. I just feel a lot better doing that. But everybody got crazy about fasting. They're like, I feel amazing. I feel great. My performance is through the roof. I can see in an alternate dimension, all this crazy stuff. And it's like, wow, okay, well, maybe there's something to this. I better give it a try. Gave it a try. felt like absolute dog crap. It was real bad. And I did a couple of variants and stuff like that, and the outcome was always the same. Real bad. Energy level plummeted. Performance plummeted. Body composition real bad. It was just every outcome that you could think of was exactly the opposite of what I wanted. I'm like, okay, fasting's not my thing. It's not for me. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I still recommend it in a lot of my books and stuff for calorie hacking and stuff, but I just know it's not my thing. It's not my way to go because I'm respecting my own experience and what I had with that. But again, a lot of things in our fitness culture will tell you, who cares? The science says it's the best thing, so force yourself to do it. The experts claim it's great, so force yourself to do it. It doesn't matter. If you're doing something and your experience isn't very positive about doing that, yeah, you can always look into it and like, am I doing something wrong here? Am I messing something up? Because that could always be the case. But by and large, if you're trying something, it's just not jiving for you. Don't force yourself to follow into something, even if 1,000 people say it's the greatest thing in the world. If it's not working for you, it's not working. It's that simple. And you could say, well, I'm doing this thing over here, and boy, oh boy, is that feeling amazing. And it's working great for me. And it's wonderful. And those same 1,000 experts are like, that doesn't work. That's not the way to go about it. That's BS and everything. Again, doesn't matter. You're the one in charge here, my friend. Remember, self-sufficiency is key. You want to trust yourself. But a lot of the messages in our fitness culture tell you you shouldn't trust yourself, that you can't rely on yourself, that you're the one who, if you're left to your own vices, are just going to sit on the couch all day and eat nothing but junk food and do the thing that is against your goals. That's not true. That's simply not true. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to have some degree of trust in yourself. And if you're always feeling like you have to be saved by the diet or the experts or the workout program or something from your sorry sinner self or whatever, then that's discouraging you from that self-efficiency. And then that leads to dependence on the experts and the dogmatic programs and the products and everything like that. And even if you do get fit, you're certainly not going to be free. You're not going to have that personal independence. So, it's important to respect yourself, respect your experience. If you're doing something, the experience is not positive, respect that in and of yourself. Because if you fight yourself, there's no way you can win. You can't fight yourself and win. The best is you can just keep on struggling. So experience things. The more you do things, the more experience you get. And that experience is much more honest feedback than you're ever going to get from any of my books, anything you see on social media, anything you find on the internet. You can research, like I said, like intermittent fasting for years and know everything there is to know about it. But that doesn't matter because you do it once and you're like, oh my gosh, I've had better workouts while I was hungover. Well, there's your experience for you. That tells you what you should be doing. Because your experience is going to teach you far more than anything else out there about actually what's best for you and what you should do for the results that you are after. But only if you respect it in of yourself. Only if you trust yourself. And I know a lot of the messages in our fitness culture discourage you from doing that very thing because they can profit off of your dependence. They can profit off of your obedience. Disciplined individuals aren't good for corporate culture. They're not very good for the bottom line of a company or some expert that's trying to gain a lot of influence on social media. I want you to be independent, to free, to do your own thing. To hell with what I think about stuff. I got tons of books and stuff on how to exercise and do things and stuff and eat healthy and stuff. And I think it's all great advice, but it doesn't matter what I think. If you read it and you think it's BS, well, then you go off of that. It doesn't matter what I do and what I think is the best. Use my stuff as ideas because that's all it's good for, really. It's just a signpost saying go that way if you want to reach your destination. But if you're going that way and you're like, this is not going in the way I want, this is not, well, then listen to yourself, not me. Joseph, my man, coming on, saying, Matt, is it necessary to train legs to failure a week ago? Is it necessary to train legs to failure. A week ago, I did lunges uphill. I realized I'm not training my legs hard enough. Is it necessary to train legs to failure in every workout? So we addressed the failure a little bit. And no, you don't need to train to failure every workout. The science and anecdotal evidence is very clear on this, that you don't need to train to failure, and you don't need to do it all the time if you want to get bigger and stronger. It's just simply not necessary. Otherwise, the only people who would ever build muscle are those who go to failure all the time. And it's just simply not true. You do want to really challenge them though. And this is one of the challenges with legs, is that because legs are big and they're strong muscles, it's really hard to challenge the work capacity on them, and it's really difficult and just uncomfortable. That's why a lot of people, lament about leg day and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a very good chance that you weren't training your legs all that hard. So you probably need to go harder. That's also one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of like sissy squats and hamstring curls, whether Nordic curls or hamstring curls on suspension straps or something like that, is because those are your big thigh muscles in the legs. And yeah, there's single joint stuff, but it is a lot easier to challenge the work capacity of your quads and your hamstrings with single joint exercises than it is with compound movements. You don't need nearly as much resistance. You can use a lot of leverage against those muscles. It's a lot easier on the joints. You don't need nearly as much proficiency and skill if you're doing it via calisthenics and stuff, or even with free weights and stuff like that. But it's just a lot easier. And remember, anything that is easier for you to achieve your goals, for you to achieve your objective, is going to make it easier to achieve your goals, flat out. So if you're like, I want my legs to be bigger, well, it's going to be, and you're like, well, again, personal experience says I can challenge the work capacity of my quads and hamstrings much better with sissy squats and hamstring curls than I can with pistol squats or whatever. Well, then guess what you should be doing? You should be doing the things that are all about making it easier to achieve that objective. It doesn't matter what the experts say. It doesn't matter what my opinions are. It doesn't matter even what the research out there is like. The research clearly says barbell back squats are better. If you get under a bar and you're like, man, this is killing my lower back, and because I had that slip disc that they repaired with a rod in my back or whatever, and I hate doing this, or that's just not my cup of tea, I don't like doing it, then don't do it. But you got to find some other way to achieve that objective. Whatever is easier for you is going to be better. Full stop. Whatever is the easiest way to achieve the objective for you is the most effective for you to do. And that's what you should be using as your compass needle when making your decisions when it comes to diet and exercise. Most anything in life, really, is what is the easiest way for you to do this thing? Achieve that fundamental objective, because that's the thing that's going to give you the best type of results. Vivo saying greetings, my friend. It is so good to see you. Thank you very much for coming on. I usually do these live streams, my friends, in the afternoon, but I had to take the girlfriend to the airport today, so I wasn't able to jump on with my normal time. So unfortunately, this is a little bit on the late side, but hey, I'm getting it in either way. Again, using adaptation. It's like, yeah, I can't do it at 2:30 Mountain Time here because I had something else more important to be doing. Okay, can you do it? What time is it now? 7:30. So I started roughly 6:30. Can I do it at 6:30? Yeah. Okay. Well, you do it at 6:30 then. Is it as good as it would have been earlier? Because people expect it on the usual time? No, but it's still a hell of a lot better than nothing. So adapt, my friends. Adapt. Do things your way. Be creative. You're the captain of this own ship, and you're going to be a better captain if you get some sort of help from a coach. Be adaptable. Make sure you're going directly after that which you want. Live within your means, and also increase your means as well, my friend. So thank you very much, folks, for coming on in. Don't forget this show's sponsors, of course, my own books that are up. Beautiful Strength, How to Use Calisthenics to Look and Feel Your Most Attractive Self, and all the other books I have, like Micro Workouts, Smart Body Weight Training, Introduction to Progressive and Weighted Calisthenics, all of the books that I've written down below, reddeltaproject.com, and our new clothing sponsor this week, Anthem Athletics. Very comfortable, very high quality products for those who are into more of a serious side of clothing for the serious training. 20% discount RDP20 down below if you'll use the link in the description. So thanks very much, everybody, for coming on in. I am going to go and make myself some dinner and relax for the rest of the evening. So I will see you folks. Oh, actually not next week. I have a Taekwondo seminar to go to that Saturday, but I will get it in. I promise you that. I'll try to get it in on a relatively timely manner, but it will happen. And we're going to be discussing into the new content for the new segment, which is the ultimate minimalist fitness strategy, how to make fitness fit any busy sort of lifestyle, and why our fitness culture actually wants you to overspend and often under delivers. Catch you on the flip side, folks. Till then, be fit and live free.